Hello again, everybody. This is Manny in San Diego, and welcome to another Sparks Drink production. And the topic for today's video is about gays in sports, homosexual athletes, and whether or not we are ready and willing to accept them. I'm bringing up this topic today because of two notable sports figures that came out this week, that came out of the closet. One of them is a former Villanova basketball player by the name of Will Sheridan, and the other is an NBA executive, Phoenix Suns president and CEO, Rick Welts. Now, it has been a topic of much discussion recently because of this, and which has led to a very prominent former athlete, NBA legend Charles Barkley, who came out and said that he had no problem with gay athletes during his career, that he could easily spot the gays on his team, and that he never really had a problem with it because as a minority himself, it would be wrong for him to show any kind of discrimination. Now, does this necessarily mean that we, the general public, are ready and open and willingly going to accept gay athletes? And the answer, unfortunately, in my honest opinion, is no. At least not yet. And here's why. Here's why I say that. When I look at minorities in sports today, the history of minorities in sports, the best example that I look up to as the gold standard is Jackie Robinson, the first African-American Major League Baseball player in the modern era. Here's a guy who had to endure so much pressure, so much hype around him. He was a former two-sport star at UCLA. He tore it up in the Negro Leagues and in the minor leagues before being called up to Brooklyn to play for the Dodgers. But also as the first black player in the pre-civil rights era. This is before the rise of civil rights leaders like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X. He also had to endure very intense hatred and bigotry from white fans, opposing players, and sometimes even his own teammates. But he was told by his GM, the man who signed him, who was willing to take a risk, a man named Branch Rickey. Branch Rickey was the one who told him not to fight back against this kind of hatred in a very violent way, but instead, rather to make his statement on the field of play. His job was to do what he was signed to do, and to get on base, hit the ball, get on base, steal bases, basically be a baseball player, help his team win games. That basically is the bottom line. And Jackie Robinson, to his great credit, did all that. He put up with all that intense scrutiny, and he helped his team win several National League titles, helped him win a World Series in 1955. He had finished his career as a Hall of Fame baseball player and paved the way for other successful black athletes. And his success also just happened to open the door for other successful minorities as well, not just baseball, but also for basketball, football, a lot of the major sports. Now, imagine what the sports landscape would be like today. What if Jackie Robinson had failed? What if Jackie Robinson, with all the talent that he had in the world, what if he did not succeed in the major leagues? What if he caved into the pressure, the racial insults, all the bias, the treatment, the negative treatment that came his way? What if he did try to fight back? What if he didn't try to leave his mark on the field? And what if he became a major league bust? You can only imagine what the sports landscape would be like if he had failed. I mean, would minorities be as successful today as had Jackie Robinson, had he not been successful? Maybe not. Perhaps not at all. Who knows? Who knows what sports would look like today? I mean, so that's the dilemma that would face a gay athlete in sports if he or she were to come out of the closet. Now, the only problem with that is there really hasn't been a gay athlete, a very talented gay athlete in a major sport with the kind of skill set, the athleticism that Jackie Robinson had that we can really look to as an example. Almost all the gay athletes that have come out in recent years have either been retired, their playing careers have ended, or maybe they were active athletes, but maybe they were not in major sports. They were not playing in leagues that people really cared about. Virtually none of these athletes, with maybe the small exception of Cheryl Swoops, the former WNBA star. Very small exception. Pretty much none of these athletes were very highly regarded. Not exactly a headliner in the bunch, with a small exception of Swoops, of course. So the bottom line is, it would have to take a gay athlete willing to come out, who has all-star caliber talent, who'd be willing to endure all the intense hatred, the stereotyping, the bigotry that would almost certainly come his way as an openly gay athlete. He would have to be able to conduct himself professionally the same way Jackie Robinson did. He would have, it would take, and he would have to be able to excel. It would be a lot of pressure for him to excel. But it would have to take a gay athlete to excel at a very high level in a major professional sport, and that people can look to and judge him by his accomplishments, but yet openly and yet acknowledge the fact that this is a gay athlete doing this, not the model athlete, not the machismo athlete that we're used to seeing, that we're used to fantasizing about, like the LeBron James type of player that we like to look up to. We would have to openly acknowledge the fact that this is a gay athlete excelling at a very high level, but there really isn't that gay athlete that we can look to as an example yet. Yeah, the Will Sheridan story is a nice story. The Rick Welts story is a nice story. Charles Barkley coming out and saying that he had no problem with gays is nice, but at the same, let's face it, these Will Sheridan, nobody knew who he was until he came out. This Rick Welts guy, he's an executive. Nobody pays to see executives anyway, and just because Charles Barkley said he was okay with it doesn't mean that everyone in sports is going to be okay with it. And Charles Barkley saying that he had no problem with gay athletes doesn't make the same kind of impact as if he had come out and said that he was a gay athlete, or if he was still in his prime and he said that he was a gay athlete. But that's so. Until then, until we can find an all-star gay athlete in the bunch, it's just good. It's gonna be business as usual in the world of sports, and that's just how it is for the time being. So, that's just my opinion, and you can do whatever you want with it. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day, folks.